Well, hello there, YouTube. This is Dwayne here. So I have a special guest here, and I am really excited to share with you what God is doing in Tim's life here. So let's take a look at Tim. Say hi, Tim.
Hello.
Give us a wave there.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
How's it going?
Going well.
Good. So I have been watching Tim's channel for the last year. And if you are a person that is into Bible stuff and things relating to the Bible and Bible translations and stuff about leather covers and bindings, and if all that stuff is the thing for you, then this man is for you. So Tim,
yes,
I love your stuff, man.
Thank you so much.
Can just for our viewers, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you? I'm getting a picture of like Alice in Wonderland, and you know that little caterpillar creature. You know, who are you? So who are you? Tell us who you are.
I'm Tim Frisch, and I give people a Frisch perspective. So that's a nice thing because my last name Frisch in German means fresh. So when I talk about giving a Frisch perspective, it literally actually means a fresh perspective. And so I've been doing church work for close to 20 years in my local church. And then I started a YouTube channel a couple years ago. God led me to do that. And I've really veered over to doing a lot more evangelistic work, equipping the church to do evangelism, and trying to just be a voice in the culture. And so that's one of the reasons I started the YouTube channel. But also I love interacting with Christians, not only in my local area, but because we have technology now, we're able to connect with Christians from all over. So here I am talking to you, a Christian in Canada, and I'm over here in New Hampshire. So, God's just allowed me to broaden my ministry by doing the YouTube work. And then I also go to different churches, and I minister, I speak there. I sometimes lead worship at different churches. I'm also a family man. God has blessed me so richly with a wonderful wife, who we were just married for 20 years as of June 10th, and we have 6 children.
Congratulations.
2 boys and 4 girls, and 2 of our children are now graduated from high school and are going to be in college, and 4 of our children are still in grade school.
Wow, that is awesome. We have 4 children of our own. So I used to think we had a big family, and then
it's all relative.
To hear of somebody with more than 4, like.
I want you to know that in my area, we had a family at our church for some time. They were called the Small Family. That was their last name was Small, but they had 11 children. So they were not a small family. And on top of that, they were pretty tall people. So it was the most ironic name that they were called the Small Family. They're these tall people with all these children. So compared to them, I don't have a lot of kids.
That's funny. They're the small, tall family. That's great.
It's funny.
Oh, man. Yeah, so here's something. So everybody who looks at your channel will be greeted with your splash page, your logo with the Frisch Perspective.
Right.
And on that are those signature glasses.
Yes.
Now, you're not wearing the signature glasses today. You have the black rims, right? You had like a new like blue or orange pair or something like that. What's the deal with the? Tell us about the glasses. Is there a story behind that? I feel like there's something behind those glasses.
Not really. I'll have to make something up right now to make this entertaining.
Okay.
Yeah, it all started years ago on a mission trip, and this really amazing supernatural experience happened. That led me to... No, it had nothing to do with a supernatural experience. Actually, it was just simply... I ordered some glasses online several years ago from Zenny Optical. So maybe I can get an advertisement here and get some money for doing an advertisement for Zenny. But I ordered these glasses that were green, and people started complimenting me. And I mean... I remember going to places. I remember even being down in Florida, and I was at a mall, and just all of a sudden I'm walking out of the mall, and some lady randomly says, "Hey, nice glasses." So I just feel like when I started wearing these colored glasses, people liked them. And so, it's partly that the color is different, it stands out, but also the glasses represent that I am a nerd and that I'm giving a viewpoint, because I've always worn glasses. I practically was born wearing glasses. So I really feel attached to my glasses, and being a nerd and having a certain outlook on life, I want to share that outlook with others. So that's what the glasses represent, is how we see the world, and I'm giving people my perspective.
That's awesome. That's cool. I wear glasses too. However, I have lost mine, so I'm squinting at everything, and it's all good. I'll get another pair. That's fine, or I'll find the old one. Don't matter. But you do the it's so cool.
Yeah. Glasses are the thing, man. I as far as I'm concerned, they're the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah. Okay, so now in looking behind you, you have a pretty intensive bookshelf. So I'm guessing that you are a man of many books. I take it you read often.
Yeah, I have a lot of books. Actually, the shelf you see behind me is a pretty small representation of all the books that I have. And now it's wonderful because you can put books on Kindle and read them online. And so you don't have to, try to fit everything into a library on a shelf, because, there's just too many books that I'd like to have and be able to read. That being said, I'm not actually as much of a reader as some people, because I have challenges when it comes to reading. I'm actually a pretty slow reader. I have pretty good comprehension, but I still struggle to read with any good speed. I've gotten better over the years. I also have eye problems. I have an eye that is farsighted and an eye that is nearsighted. And so over the years, I've really developed just those eyes are doing two different things, and I just find it hard to focus over a long period of time. Yeah. And so it's not always easy for me to read as much as I would like to, but I do read a lot, probably compared to a lot of people.
Yeah. So and then looking at that bookshelf, there's a couple things that are sticking out to me. So I'm a big fan of the Nelson Premier Bibles. So I got one of their first editions. There was something wrong with it. I actually had to return it, and they sent me back one of the second editions, the black cover one. It's the single column reference one, which I find just to be like the perfect width and the perfect size of text. It's like, for reading, I could sit and read it for hours. In fact, I did. That was the first Bible that I ever just sat and read cover to cover, Genesis right through to Revelation. I think I did it in like 5 months, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's a fantastic Bible. So I also notice that you have an awful lot of New King James Version Bibles there. So I think we have something in common. That is my favorite translation, and I think it's your favorite translation.
It's up there.
Can you tell me why that is? I know you did some videos. Maybe we'll link them somewhere.
I'll honestly, it's nothing really technical. Of course, all my views are probably the best, opinion that you could possibly have on the matter. But it's really just my preference, because I grew up with the King James Version. And so I have appreciated it, not only because I grew up with it and I found that is just something that's a part of me, but because of the heritage of the King James Version. It has just impacted our culture and Christianity for hundreds of years. And I think there's a reason for that. I mean, the timing of the King James Version, when it came and how it culminated and came into being, it really was an improvement of previous translations. And so the King James is just this great Reformation era translation. The problem is that we've had more scholarship since the 1600s, and the language has changed since the 1600s. So the New King James is just a wonderful updating of the scholarship and of the language of the King James, and yet it still retains that heritage that the King James Version gives us. So for those reasons, I do really like the King James a lot, although I appreciate other translations as well very much. Yeah. Especially, I would say, the Christian Standard Bible, to me, is a great complement to the New King James Version.
Yeah, I do the same thing. If there's something I find difficult to comprehend in the New King James, I may flip over to a CSB, and I have one for that purpose. It just seems to strike a really good balance between being super literal and not quite a paraphrase. So
yeah, I feel like actually that a lot of modern versions still retain certain things from the King James Version in subtle ways.
Mm-hmm.
And even the New International Version, believe it or not, if you read John 3:16, it pretty much reads like the King James.
Yeah, I found the same thing about the ESV.
That's right. Yes.
I purchased an ESV about a month ago, and I was flipping through some pages in Revelation and a little bit in Galatians, and like some of the phrasing, it just strikes me as, as King James.
And that's not surprising because the ESV is in the line of the King James.
Yeah.
So where I was going with that is that the Christian Standard Bible really did a good job of pulling away from some of the wording that's just become second nature to most of us if we read the Bible a lot. So the Christian Standard Bible, it's still pretty literal, which I like.
Yeah.
But it says things in ways that really capture something that's fresh and causes you to look at it maybe differently than you did before.
Yeah.
And I really do appreciate that.
Like John 3:16, for God loved the world in this way, as opposed to for God so loved the world.
Which I actually think is a really good way to say it. Yeah.
And I think for the reason, because if you say for God so loved the world, there's a bit of ambiguity there because you don't know where the so is modifying, right?
Most people would never even think that it could possibly mean in this way when they read it in that sentence, even though it can mean that.
Yeah. So do you have any like Greek in your background? Like have you done any Greek studies or anything like that?
Yeah, I didn't mention in my bio that I am theologically trained. I went to Boston Baptist College back in the late 90s and graduated in 2001 with a biblical studies degree. And then from 2009 to 2011, I studied through Liberty University online, and I received a Master of Divinity in Worship Studies, but that also contained a lot of theology. So I learned Greek to some degree, biblical Greek, studied it a little bit in both of those settings. So it was nice because I learned a little bit in my undergrad studies, and then it was reinforced more when I did my MDiv work. And then recently I just graduated with a Doctor of Ministry in Church Planting and Multiplication. But that I did not study Greek. So all that to say, I have an awareness and a decent amount of knowledge, but that is not my expertise.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Yeah, I studied Greek on my own for a number of years. So, I'm guessing if you took it in a theology school. What is with my words? If you probably, you likely use Bill Mounce's book and Dan Wallace and maybe a little bit of Robertson and stuff like that. So those were the books I sort of pulled together and read and went through them. So I'm not sure where I would fall if I were to take a test and mark it, but I would think I would at least have a first year knowledge of the language. So
what's great about biblical Greek is when you're studying biblical Greek, there's a limited vocabulary that you have to learn. So even though I don't really feel like I know Greek very well, there's a lot of Bible words that I know because they're the same words that are being repeated. So it's nice that you're only working with a limited vocabulary.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So now let's go back to your bookshelf for a second there, Tim. You have right there, right in the top middle left, a book called God Matters. So
I do. Yeah, would you look at that?
It's right there. I can see your books and I can tell.
I have it here too.
There you go. I'd hold one up, but I didn't buy it in book form because COVID-19 said it would take like 30 days for it to come. So I was impatient.
And you're in
and ordered it on
Canada,
the
so
Kindle.
shipping would be another $100 or something.
That's
It's
right.
not that
Well,
good of a book.
it was available on the Amazon.ca site.
Oh,
So
good.
it must be like print on demand or something.
I don't know.
Anyway, so instead of ordering the book form, I just ordered it on Kindle, and I've been reading it on my iPhone. So this,
Good.
I think, is going to push me to purchase one of those e-readers because it's painful on the eyes to
Yeah.
read on an iPhone.
Yeah.
But I had a chance to read through just about the whole thing. I think I'm on the last chapter there. So unless you switch gears really fast, then this might change your recommendation.
Yes. Yeah. Wouldn't that be unfortunate? You recommend the
Yeah.
book, and then you get to the last chapter, and you're like, "Oh no, I totally hate this."
Salvation is found in Buddha? What?
No twist endings. No twist endings. It's pretty consistent message.
Yeah, it's actually really, really interesting because I was reading the first portion of your book, which talks a little bit about the nature of man and how, we're really not righteous as we think we are. And there's a bit of a push towards presuppositional apologetics. So that's kind of a big word. I'm sure you've heard that before. And you wrote those chapters in that book, so of course you have. And I was thinking, oh no, this is just going to be another precept apologetics book. But I really love how you didn't stop at the presuppositional apologetics, but you took it a step further and applied it to the reader. So for the believer, the book is a really stark reminder of what the message of the gospel is, essentially. And for the non-believer, it's a presentation of the gospel. And in reading that, I sort of see that the flavor of the gospel positioned is like right out of Romans 1-8, essentially.
Yep.
So can you tell us a little bit about what drove you to write this book? I think you have a little bit in your preface, but maybe if you could just tell our readers, our viewers here.
As far as the title God Matters, and the subtitle is The Importance of Belief in a World of Doubt. One of the big motivators for that title was that years ago there was a popular book by a psychologist, Dr. Phil, called Self Matters. And I thought that that title really captured our culture. Self matters. That pretty much says it, right? We matter the most. And I thought, wow, that's pretty backwards. And the Christian view is just the opposite. It's that God matters, and He doesn't exist for us. We exist for Him. So really, that's what inspired the basic title. But we're trying to live on our own as humans. Especially in Western culture today, in postmodern Western setting. And, the truth is it doesn't work. We were not made to live for ourselves and by ourselves. So I wrote this as a way to just really show people, hopefully to speak into a postmodern setting, to show people that we definitely can't do things on our own, and living for ourselves is only going to be hurtful to our culture and to us as individuals. So, it's really just an evangelistic book. It's kind of a, if you want to characterize it, C.S. Lewis is someone who I really liked. Of course, a lot of people have read, Mere Christianity, his apologetic work. But I kind of blend that style with the book of Romans. And, a lot of us know the Romans Road, but really Paul's arguments are just so deep and brilliant. So what I tried to do is weave some of those different things together to share the gospel. And really it's just trying to speak like C.S. Lewis was speaking to, the mid-1900s British world. I'm trying to speak to the 2000 time period that we live in our part of the world.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing that kind of struck me about the book is I like C.S. Lewis. Obviously, there you can see the undertone of his work in your book. You can see some of the foundation work there. But with C.S. Lewis, I found that a lot of his books are very wordy, and he's a very like very flowery, uses a lot of flowery language, right? But to kind of compare your book with that, I found your book was quite easy to read, and I think I mentioned this to you before. Yeah, it's quite simple to understand.
Well, that's partly because thank you so much. That is partly because C.S. Lewis was a genius, and I am not. Therefore, I'm easier to understand maybe in some ways.
Well,
although he was brilliant at taking pretty deep concepts and making them accessible to people. But I'm glad to hear that. I really do appreciate the compliment.
Yeah. One thing that kind of stuck out too was in the chapter. I'll call it the chapter about total depravity. You didn't label it as such, but you were essentially talking about that. And you had mentioned about how we have all these controls in place, and we have a justice system, and we have all of this stuff to help thwart this tendency of man to do the bad things, right? And that's all well and good, but then you made it really personal, and you said, and this was a point that just struck home, and it's like, why do we need marriage counseling and all these books about having a better marriage when we're trying to convince ourselves that man is not in need of a savior? I mean, that alone, like, if you're married and you know the arguments that you have with your wife, right, or your husband, or whatever it is, so that alone just proves the point that you're in need of a savior, and that things aren't as they are, going to be, right?
That's right. Yeah. And this is a person you have chosen to live with.
That's right.
So you would think, okay, then you must really love this person. They must really love you. So it's going to be easy if we're naturally good. It's got to be easy. We love each other. But right. That does not seem to be the pattern. Marriage is not easy by any stretch. So I think it does speak to something that we innately have a problem with as humans. And that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. So the question now is, do you have any plans to write any more books?
To be honest, I just finished the bulk of a little book that I am doing based on my translation work that I've been talking about on my channel. Not that I'm translating the Bible, but I talk about Bible translations. And I know a lot of people are interested in the subject. And I think a great way to be a help to people nowadays with the gifts that God has given me is to try to be someone who can give people information and boil it down a little bit for them. So if someone is new to Christianity and they're looking for a Bible, I want to help them understand why there are these different Bibles out there and help them to find a good translation for them. So I just finished a little book, the bulk of it at least, and I have some finishing touches, and then I'm going to have some people look at it. And I'm not even sure how it will be released. The last one that I did, I had it self-published basically and had it put in print form. This one may just be PDF, at least to begin with, and just something that people can share on the internet. So yes, the answer is I am continuing to write. I have written something.
Awesome.
But I'd love to write other things too, as God leads.
That's awesome. Good. So now in our discussion about Bible, since this is mostly a Bible channel, you talk a lot about Bibles, talk a lot about some Bible teachings, relate them back to us. What is your favorite Bible? Of all the Bibles that are out there, which one is your favorite?
Well, I
was gonna say I'm more of a Cambridge guy, and that's partly because we're in Canada, and it's very expensive to ship Skylers here. I haven't gotten a hold of an Allen. I hear that they will ship without duty and without any Canadian custom costs and stuff. So maybe one day if I can get a second mortgage or something on the house. But mostly a Cambridge guy. Have a couple Holmans. They're great. But love the Cambridges. So I'm taking up your talking time, so I'll fire it back to you. What's your favorite Bible? What is it?
I like hearing your opinion on this too, and I think that's the point. Is we all have our preferences.
That's right.
And there are people who love Cambridge Bibles, and Cambridge is a publisher that in England has produced the King James Version for many years. they're producing other translations as well now. But I remember I used to work at a Christian bookstore when I was back in college, and Cambridge Bibles, even back then, were just, I mean, I remember I'd never bought one at the time, but I remember looking at them and just, kind of being in awe of them. So they have a great history, Cambridge Bibles. And I don't actually have one here right now, but I just ordered a Cambridge because there was a great deal. And so I am going to be getting one. I don't ultimately know what I'm going to do with it, but sometimes what I do is I review Bibles and I show them and I compare them, and sometimes I just keep them for reference. Other times, I want to give them away to someone who will love it and use it even more than I will. But, it's tough because there's like the favorite Bible in the sense of like, okay, if I just had to say which one's the most beautiful to me, which one is the most, well made, and I like all the features, that might be one Bible, but sometimes that Bible is not the one I really want to be carrying around everywhere. So I've said before, I've said before that really, a Bible that I really like right now is the Holman New King James large print ultra thin. Nice. It's like this classic format in the New King James Version with the references in the center column. The print is, acceptable size. And the thing I really like about it, though, it's a thin line, easy to carry, but it's not expensive at all. So I could just take it anywhere, and I'm not worried about it getting messed up. It's great. And it's that combination of portable. It's still easy to carry. I could hold it while I'm speaking, but it's not so small that it's hard to read.
Yeah.
So I guess I would say for those purposes, that's my favorite Bible. As far as beautiful Bibles, I like Schuyler, Allen, Cambridge. I like them all. Yeah. I'll take anything.
It's kind of like asking, what's your favorite song, right? Because it's going to depend on the day and the mood and everything, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, if someone said, what's your favorite vehicle, would you want a Corvette or, a Porsche? I mean, I'll take either one, right?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, so that Cambridge you ordered wouldn't happen to be the Topaz, would it? Because I think I seen those went on sale for a period of time.
I don't know what the Topaz has gone on sale for. Normally those cost over $200, I think.
I know, they're quite pricey.
So to be honest, for me, because it's in the ESV, that's not a translation I'm in much need of, although I do have some. But once it comes out in the New King James Version, that might be more appealing to me.
Nice.
We'll see what happens. But actually, I'm getting I think it's turquoise.
Turquoise. Okay,
but it was on sale. I know to some people this is going to be really expensive, but for a $200 or more Bible, it was on sale for $130.
Oh wow!
A little over $130. Yeah.
And that's American, right? American dollars.
American dollars, yes.
Yeah. So Canadian dollars, we're talking over $200
for $130
for the viewers. Yeah.
Yeah, but the full price is $200 and it's at least $230 something US dollars on CBD, and on Amazon maybe around $200 US dollars. Okay. So it's still highly discounted.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for you, man.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know ultimately what I'll do with it, because I have more Bibles than I need, obviously, but I do use them for my channel, and I do like to have them for being able to compare and show people, because now that people can't go to as many Christian bookstores as they used to be able to go to, and now that they're doing a lot more shopping online, you kind of need people to show you what that Bible's like, because they can't go to the store anymore and hold it for themselves. So you're really doing people a service by showing them these different Bibles. Yeah, at the same time, I don't want to be I don't want to just lay up treasures for myself,
That's right.
I think someone said something about not doing that. I heard that before.
Yeah, wise words from a wise man, God.
Right.
Yeah, good. So let's change the topic just a little bit. So, like I said, I've been viewing your channel about a year, and man, you are pumping out the content. Like I think you're doing one just about every day. I will ask you what your secret is to finding the time to do that, but I will let everybody guess. What I wanted to ask you is, I had a chance to take a look at some of the first videos that you had created, and you're actually talking a little bit about anxiety, and you had some personal things happen, and you were sharing a little bit about that on your channel. Would you mind sort of sharing what that was about, what you've taken away, and how you can sort of equip others in helping with that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, anxiety is something that I've dealt with personally quite a bit in my life. But, I think some of us have personality traits that are more prone to being more anxious than other people. So I have a pretty sensitive personality. I'm a sensitive person. I cry very easily. And I feel things very deeply and quickly. So I can also, if I kind of get internalized with my feelings, that can build up. And of course, a lot of that just relates to things happening in your life, as well as choices that you make. I mean, some of it is just because maybe I'm not handling things the way that I should. But in some cases, it's just that life is hard, and you get overwhelmed. And so back in 2012, I actually kind of had a bit of a, breakdown, so to speak, where I actually had to go to the hospital with panic attacks, and I found out what I was dealing with. When you're having a panic attack the first time, a lot of people can relate to this. You think there might be something really medically wrong because your body's just going crazy. And the way that I describe it is that a panic attack is your body telling you that you're about to die or that you're in serious danger. So how would you feel? You've been in a bad dream before where you feel like you're just about to die and then you wake up? Well, what happens if you have that feeling but you can't wake up and you don't even know what it is that you're scared of? That's a panic attack. And it's very unsettling. So I went to the hospital. What happens for some people is it's such an overwhelming experience that they try to deal with it by just trying to get rid of the feelings and, give me something to get rid of the feelings. I never took medication really for my anxiety. I did go back into the hospital several years later with the same kind of thing, and they gave me like a pill, but I never continued to take it. I've never been on a prescription. But I still struggle at times, and other times I'm doing better. I would say, at this present time in my life, by God's grace, I'm doing pretty well. But, it's a combination of factors. And I'm not against people taking medicine for something like that, but I don't think medicine can completely solve all of these types of issues. I think it's just, a kind of an aid for some people, but ultimately there's things we have to deal with. Also, I'm speaking not as a medical person, so I'm not giving advice. And I also recognize that some people have some very serious physical issues. So there are some people who are dealing with certain issues within their mind that are so serious that they need to be on some sort of medication. I don't have any kind of serious issue in that way. So for me, I haven't had to use medicine, but it's been serious at times, and that's why I did videos to talk about it. And, to be honest, it's something I still struggle with. I hope that I will continue to grow by the grace of God, because I want to do what God wants me to do, and whatever that is, and not let fear control my life.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you have any advice or any words of encouragement for people who might be suffering from a certain level of anxiety? Or What would you tell that person?
Yeah, I mean, I can't actually say off the top of my head. I know I did some videos, so maybe going back there and watching some of that, because I, off the top of my head, wouldn't know necessarily. And also, everybody's different, and what they're going through is different. But I would say to anybody, you're not weird, you're not alone. Many of us who look very confident on the outside, one of the problems with anxiety is it's actually stuff that's going on that you're hiding, to be honest. It's a lot of hidden stuff. And so people who just tell everybody all their problems and find it easy to share their problems, that can be actually really good. But if you're the kind of person who's a little bit more private, and you're scared to maybe share things, you can internalize. And I think that's definitely how I can tend to be at times. And, so I would just say you're not alone, you're not strange. Talk to people, and, you can work through it. There are some great strategies out there and different resources available. I just found out about a book recently that I think you can get pretty easily called, it's something like the DARE approach or something, DARE. And it's not a Christian book, but it's just, an example of a book that's encouraging people to move into that fear. Don't let it control you. You can get through this. And as a Christian, I would say coupling that with the realities of God's grace, it's very powerful. Because sadly, Christians sometimes, they're not even given as much help. People just say to Christians when they're struggling, just take it to God and you'll be okay. Yeah. But it's like, well, God gives us other people to guide us. And he gives wisdom, even in his general revelation. So there are some good books out there and knowledge that God has given people that can be helpful. So I would say read good books, but couple that, of course, with the things of Scripture. And of course, this is basic, but Paul tells us, don't be anxious, right? We're to think on certain things. And so, of course, I have found that reading the Scripture is a huge help. If I really, am in the Word of God, that can be a great help to me. So if you're a Christian, definitely. And even if you're not a Christian, reading the Bible can give you peace and hope as you begin to understand its message.
That's very true. That's very true. Indeed. Well, Tim, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you, first of all, for coming over to my channel and saying hi. I wanted to encourage you and just say that your videos have been totally awesome and helpful, and I have enjoyed them. And I think you released a video today talking about the pronouns and the capitalization of he and he. That might be a little granular for some people, but I just love that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm honest. I always tell people I'm a Christian nerd, so I'm going to talk about nerdy things at times.
So I'm going to point, let's see if we can put a link here to Tim Frisch's channel and maybe another one to his book. A fantastic read. So
thank you.
Go to his channel, subscribe. Tim Frisch is the man. And then go to Amazon and order his book. You will not be disappointed. He just awesome stuff. Tim, thank you very much for coming over and saying hi.
Thank you so much, Dwayne. It was such a pleasure to be here and talk with you.
Awesome. Take care.
God bless.